Let's head over to the Military Bowl. East Carolina versus NC State. Dude, I think this is an awesome matchup. I know that this is like one of the heavier point spreads that we're talking about, in our previous game, the line being at 7. I guess it was bet up from like, what, 5, 5.5? I, dude, this East Carolina team it's a new team, man. Like, Blake Harrell's got the boys buzzing. Okay, these guys love him. Caden Hauser, transfer from Michigan State, right? A guy who last year Michigan State fans were just holding on to this hope, right, that this 4-star guy, Caden Hauser, was gonna be the guy, right? And look at him now, right, in this system with East Carolina doing awesome things. Look at Sam Leavitt over in Arizona State doing awesome things over there, who was also in that quarterback room as well. Yeah, kind of crazy, man. I don't know about you, CD, but I think this is too many points, man. I mean, East Carolina +7. I mean, and that NC State defense, we talked about it. This was something that we nailed, right? One thing that you can't underestimate, right, obviously, is the coaching ability of NC State having, you know, what we thought was, you know, one of the better defensive staffs, or I guess it's one of the better defensive stats in general, right? So it wasn't a great defense, but Tony Gibson has done great things. But he's not even going to be coaching in this game, right? He's over at Marshall now. So I'm looking at this, man. I'm like, there's no way East Carolina isn't going to put up points in this game. Am I crazy for thinking that?
No, absolutely not. Not only are you missing, your defense coordinator, not only have you underwhelmed, especially through the year 106. 106 for Tony Gibson coach defense. I get it. You've had injuries, right? The linebacker, Caden Fordham's been gone for a while. But you've also a couple cornerbacks who aren't going to be playing this game we think are pretty damn good, right? You've got White, you've got Sissy, right, as well as Corey Cooley, who's been gone. So you could be out three of your top cornerbacks due to injury in this game. That's a real serious problem because you've got a couple guys at ECU, right, that are left in the portal, right? A couple guys, Chase Sowell is going to Iowa State, who they're very excited about. Winston Wright, kind of a gadget, very exciting player for them, is also gone too. But you've got Anthony Smith, who, by the way, revenge game here, former NC State guy. You've got the running back, Rajai Harris, but you also turn your attention to 6'3" freshman Yannick Smith. This is a guy who is going to get more run. You guy who's played really good football in the past couple of games, especially since they've kind of inserted Caden Hauser in the lineup. He's obviously a 4-star kid, so he's got an okay arm. He's got okay legs. Not super, super physically imposing, but he's been really good about taking care of the football because Jake Garcia did not do that. 8 touchdowns, 12 interceptions for Jake Garcia. Hausler is at 18 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. Increasing touchdowns, decreasing interceptions, things you love to want to see. And also, too, Jake Garcia took 2 more sacks in about 30 less attempts than Hauser did, right? So Hauser's also been better, decision-making, getting the ball at time, checking protections, doing good things that you need to do as a college quarterback. He's also, can do some nice things through the air, downfield, especially you got a 6'3" kid, Yannick Smith. So it'll be really interesting. Now, we
We're
talked
also
about
missing defensive pieces, though, for East
yes.
Carolina.
Yes. So if you want to get into that a little bit, we talked about North Carolina State and maybe what they're going on the defense side of the ball. We talked about how ECU can exploit that. But I also think there's some spots here for North Carolina State to really get after ECU as well.
Yeah, I mean, this defense hasn't been that impressive in general, right? And you haven't played a lot of great offenses either. You've played some solid ones. I think the American does have some good offenses, better offenses than defenses, right, in the American Conference there. But you're gonna be missing, one. I mean, Siobhan Revel, who's an absolute monster at corner. He's been out since for a while. It was early, man. It was kind of devastating. High draft pick, nominee, right? Good freaking football player, incredible athlete. You're gonna be missing your starting corner, Isaiah Brown Murray. You're gonna be missing your starting linebacker and Baker. You got a defensive lineman that's opting out with over 339 snaps.
Heading to Power 4.
Yeah, heading to Power 4. So you're missing good players on your defense side of the football too. And by the way, NC State's offense with Robert and I, yeah, maybe not the best, but since CJ Bailey started playing quarterback for them there, it's kind of been okay, at times. Like when they've played bad defenses, they put up points. And the CCU defense it's not great, right? It really isn't. Not to mention all those guys that are missing as well. So but the caveat there with NC State's offense is that you're missing I mean what? Like you're missing Casey Concepcion, who maybe was a little bit underutilized in this offense, and you still got Justin Jolly and Noah Rogers, who are kind of really good studs there. Expect those guys to definitely make insane, huge plays, right? CJ Bailey, I'm sure will be fine without Casey Concepcion, considering that they've underutilized him, a little bit this year. But yeah, I'll take ECU +7. I'll take them to win as well. I don't feel great about them winning that part, but I think they're absolutely going to be able to compete on the same field as this NC State team, which, by the way, I guess, not so shocked, but, after what we saw the first couple weeks, yeah, I was a little bit surprised that NC State was able to scrape out to a bowl game of a season, right?
Yeah, it was a rough start for them. Obviously, you had the Tennessee loss. Obviously, the Clemson loss, terrible. Wake Forest was brutal, right?
You had to have
Syracuse,
a
you blew it.
comeback against Louisiana Tech, by the way. You had to have a second half comeback against Louisiana Tech. You were tied in the fourth quarter with
Yeah,
Louisiana Tech.
but that turning point was that Cal game, right? That fourth quarter, you came back, you scored 14 points. Bailey had 300 yards in that game. Listen, I want to mention too a couple young kids from NC State. Terrell Anderson, wide receiver position there, as well as Jonathan Paylor. So you got no Casey Concepcion. Those two guys, we talked about NC State and what they did. They had a pretty nice recruiting class, and it was headlined by Terrell Anderson and Paylor, right? Couple wide receivers there. Are they going to be ready to maybe emerge, right? Because obviously, yeah, no Casey Concepcion, but you've got some really, really good athletes in that room still there. You mentioned Jolly, Noah Rogers, but Anderson and Paylor, obviously two different body types. And Anderson, much bigger, 6'3", physically imposing guy. Paylor, a little bit more quick and elusive, 5'10" guy on a good day. It'll be really interesting to see too, especially with some of the losses for ECU in the secondary, especially with their just general statistical profile throughout the season, even with some of those guys. It'll be interesting. This is a fantastic game. Another added dimension too here is these campuses are like 80 miles an hour, hour and a half away from each other, right? So it's not that there's a huge crazy rivalry between the two, but I think it's pretty important enough to say about it too. And obviously, it's not going to be played in North Carolina. You're heading up to, I believe, it's Annapolis, right? It's that military bowl, so you'll play up at Navy, but it'll be awesome. I think it'll be a lot of fun here. I do expect a lot of points scored in this game, so stick around for our best bets to see what kind of action we're getting on that. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun nonetheless.
Did you take East Carolina or did you take NC State? Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, listen, when it was at 5, I liked North Carolina State, right? But this game with too much scoring going on here, and honestly, the way that I don't necessarily trust Waters and Smothers and Raphael to really run the ball dominant in that second half, the backdoor cover scares me here. So I'll be at ECU +7, but I'll take North Carolina State to win because I think it'll be a spot where you could see some real magic
like
and spots
that's
in the fourth quarter.
That's probably the sharp spot to be, but
I hate to middle it though, because it's the bowl game. You pick a side, feel good about it, but the reality is I don't feel good about either team winning. I just feel good about a lot of points being scored.
Yeah, the way overtime's been happening, come on. So I don't hate it.